Washington, D.C. woke up on January 6, 2021, to a sense of unease. By mid-morning, thousands of demonstrators had gathered near the U.S. Capitol. Most came with signs and slogans. But in the shadows, something far more dangerous was brewing. An FBI after-action report, revealed years later, paints a chilling picture. 274 agents were rushed to the Capitol and nearby locations that day, not just to control the crowd but to chase down hidden threats. Among them, a red truck parked dangerously close to the Capitol, loaded with components that could be used to build Molotov cocktails. At the same time, pipe bombs were discovered outside the headquarters of both the Republican and Democratic National Committees. The bombs were real, the clock was ticking, and the FBI knew they weren't just dealing with protesters anymore. They were staring at a coordinated assault on the very symbols of American democracy. But what no one outside the Bureau knew was the chaos inside the FBI itself. The report obtained years later revealed internal complaints of political bias, poor communication, and lack of preparation. Some agents warned that their field office in Washington was hopelessly broken. Others accused the Bureau of responding differently depending on the politics of the suspects. The Capitol breach dominated the news. Images of rioters storming the chambers shocked the world. But behind the cameras, federal agents were scattered across D.C., racing to defuse bombs, secure evidence, and track threats that might never be revealed. Even more explosive was the revelation that the FBI had 26 confidential human sources in Washington that day, 3 of whom entered the Capitol itself. The public was told there were no undercover agents inside the crowds. The truth, however, was murkier. What exactly did the Bureau know, and when? Why were agents chasing Molotov cocktails and pipe bombs while lawmakers were being evacuated at gunpoint? And why did so many within the FBI feel their own agency had lost sight of its mission, justice over politics? The after-action report doesn't just expose failures, it raises terrifying questions. Was January 6th simply a riot that spiraled out of control, or was it the first sign of something far darker, buried in the cracks of America's institutions? As the smoke cleared from the U.S. Capitol, official reports told the public only part of the story. Rioters were arrested, politicians condemned the violence, security was blamed, but inside the FBI, a storm was brewing, one that would haunt the Bureau for years. The after-action report, uncovered later, revealed not just tactical failures but a crisis of trust inside America's most powerful law enforcement agency. Agents complained of poor communication, inadequate equipment, and insufficient training. Some claimed they were sent into the chaos with little preparation, while others were chasing down leads on bombs and armed suspects with no clear chain of command. And then came the darkest allegations: political bias. Anonymous comments from inside the FBI accused the Washington field office of protecting one side while targeting another. They claimed that crimes were pursued or ignored, depending on who committed them. The Bureau, they warned, was losing its neutrality. Lawmakers seized on these revelations. Congressman Barry Loudermilk called the report more damning than anyone could have imagined. Others demanded investigations into whether the FBI had downplayed evidence, hidden failures, or worse, covered up the truth about January 6th. The Department of Justice's Inspector General later insisted there was no evidence of undercover agents in the Capitol. But the files also admitted that 26 confidential human sources were present, including 3 inside the building. Were they gathering intelligence or fueling the chaos? To this day, the answer remains buried in redacted pages. Meanwhile, the bombs discovered near the Democratic and Republican headquarters remain an unsolved mystery. Who planted them? How did they slip past security in the most heavily guarded city in America? The FBI has offered rewards, released surveillance footage, and conducted thousands of interviews. Still, no suspect has ever been identified. Too many, that silence speaks volumes. Was it incompetence or something more sinister? For the agents who were there, the scars run deep. They remember the confusion, the radio silence, the sense that they were fighting shadows while the world watched democracy unravel on live television. And for the American people, one truth lingers: the story of January 6th is not finished. What began as a protest turned into a riot, a crime scene, and perhaps something even more dangerous, a test of whether the country's guardians of justice can still be trusted. Because when the FBI's own agents warn that politics has replaced fairness, one terrifying question hangs over America: if the watchdog is compromised, who's left to protect the truth?